one thing that you wanted to leave our audience with?
Is that AI is for everyone. But here the pace of change is going to happen very fast. There'll be a lot of pain. Some people will lose their jobs. You need to be intellectually curious. You need to be adaptive. You need to keep learning. But other than that, there is a huge opportunity for India to build applied AI.
So how early should we get kids to start engaging with these technologies?
Yeah, no, that's a tough one.
Ashwin is the executive chairman of C5i. He established C5i about 20 years ago. It is a pure play AI and analytics provider which is helping organizations drive digital transformation. Ashwin was also one of the first CEOs to set up an AI lab as a pure R&D function in 2017. Ashwin Mittal is a member of the NASSCOM Executive Council. He has been recognized among India's top AI leaders, featured as one of the 11 foundational AI market leaders, 100 most influential AI leaders in India in 2024, 10 most influential analytic leaders in India, and promising entrepreneurs of India. Hi, Ashwin. Welcome to AI Basics. We're so happy to have you with us. Now, as always, we realize everyone is pressed for time. So, if there was one thing that you wanted to leave our audience with, what would that be?
Okay, well, hi Sukirti, pleasure to be here. The one thing that I'd love to leave your audience with is that AI is for everyone. It is out there and available to every single person, doesn't matter what their age is, what stage of life they're at. It's, democratized, it is easy to access, easy to use, easy to learn, easy to leverage in life, and everyone should do that. And it is just getting over that initial fear, and everyone can take advantage of it in their daily personal and professional life.
And I love that because I am pretty old. I won't give my age, but yes, I'm loving this new AI age. I feel I can do so much more. Now, my second one, this is the one that's got everyone so worried. Okay, TK, we have finished the career graph, but what about our kids? What about the next generation? Everybody's asking, will they have jobs or will robots and AI chatbots do everything?
Well, I mean, nobody knows how things will shape out entirely. Today, honestly, nobody knows, right? Whether it is me, whether it is you, whether it is the, most experienced leaders of the world's great tech companies or our politicians. One thing is for sure is that the workplace and the skills mix is going to substantially change in the years to come, right? There's absolutely no doubt about that. There will be lots of things that AI will do that we do today, right? But there will be lots of new things that will be needed to do that perhaps we're not doing today. My view, and I reserve the right to be wrong, but my view is that there is always going to be a higher and higher benchmark for what we call cognitive human labor, right? What is that cognitive human capability? And I don't think that there is an artificial limit to that, right? If you look back, so I'm giving away my age in some way, but 25 to 30 years ago, when we were all looking at the workplace, when I was an intern, right? In one day, the amount of work that a person got done, right? You send a fax, you look at call for some physical file, you look at it. Today, you and I are perhaps doing 4 times or 5 times as much work, productivity in one day, right? So it's not like, and more jobs have been created, more productivity has been created. So my belief is, and I'm a perennial optimist, is that we will create more need for cognitive human labor over time, right? And that will lead to, though there will be short-term pain, there'll be a lot of pain because a lot of things will change, right?
And changing very fast.
Absolutely. So that's the other challenge, right? Is that in previous revolutions, the pace has been slower, right? When we moved, let's say more than 100 years ago to mass manufacturing, that pace of change took time, right? So people could adjust, accommodate. There were strikes and things like that then as well. But here the pace of change is going to happen very fast. There'll be a lot of pain. Some people will lose their jobs, but there'll be a lot of new jobs created, right? So the key here is to be adaptive, to be intellectually curious, right? And to use AI yourself, right? Staying away and saying that I'm going to not use it and being, trying to ignore it is actually not the solution, right? AI may or may not replace humans, but AI will definitely replace humans that don't use AI, So that's something I definitely want to leave your audience with, is that don't be afraid. Goes back to my first point, is don't be afraid. Start tinkering with it, start using it, and it is democratized. It's out there.
And I really love what you said because even me, I mean, I do podcasting. I'm using it for my scripting. I'm using it in my video editing. There's so many ways. This is for everyone. And I really resonate with that. But now the real question, and I think you got into AI in 2017. Nobody was even thinking, what is AI back then? What got you into AI so early?
So I didn't get into AI in 2017. I got into data science in 2004.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so that's 21 years back, right? Of course, AI was only a theoretical thing at that time. But the business that I started, that I got into, was data science, which was using data and using statistical science on top of that to inform decision making to predict outcomes in business. And that time, even data analytics and data science was not a known thing, right? I mean, that was also something, bizarre. Someone told me, okay, you go with a briefcase to someone's office. By briefcase, he meant a laptop inside. And you plug it into their system, you have your statistics inside it, and you solve all their problems. Sounded fascinating to me. I always loved maths and stats, and I unfortunately didn't study it because maths is not something you studied in my time. You didn't do a BSc in mathematics, right? I mean, till
Right.
the 12th I studied it, but usually in our time you studied something that was going to lead to a financial outcome like engineering or business or whatever, right? So I studied mostly business and entrepreneurship, etc. And so, I thought it was really fascinating, embarked on the journey. And over the years, AI essentially comes from data science.
Yeah.
So what, even today, the, foundation of AI is data science. So from that we evolved, about 2015 was when I would say the, AI 2015, 16, because of the deep learning revolution started to take off. And about 3 years back, of course, with the generative AI revolution and the release of chat GPT has become even more so. And of course, our business has also transitioned along with that, to be able to ride on those technologies and deliver value using those. So
Wow, but you were really early. But now the big question, I think early this year got everybody freaked out when China released Deep Sea. And everybody was asking now, when is the India moment going to come? So what is India doing in this space? Or is it just a US China race?
in these kind of races, it's not necessarily, I can't make any predictions here. Nobody knows again for sure. But there is always an opportunity because the technology base is evolving so rapidly, right? That the leaders in this race haven't been defined yet. If you look back more than 20 years back, there was a big company called Yahoo and a small startup called Google,
Yes.
right? So things change, things evolve, things happen. Um, in terms of, let's say the topic now, DeepSeek, we're talking about large language models, which is
Yes.
one aspect of AI technology. I mean, it's phenomenal the kind of growth some of those companies are showing, like OpenAI and others. But there are various other ways to create value in AI. You don't have to necessarily just build a foundational large language model. There can be various other dimensions that one can address, right? And even the technologies are evolving now with, agentic AI and AI agents and whatnot. But for India specifically, there are two, three things. Maybe there will be some foundational AI built out of India also. But other than that, there is a huge opportunity for India to build applied AI, right? And because the opportunity is that enterprises need to completely rewire their business and systems. And while there is adoption of AI in enterprises, it's still very small, right? So that needs a lot of work around smart people to help customize, understand how businesses operate and build it. So that's one. But other than that, there is a huge opportunity to solve problems within India itself
Yes.
in areas like healthcare, education, where we don't have enough teachers, doctors, and we can do it at scale using AI. And um, large language models are built on data, and data is somewhat biased towards data that is digitized. And the data that is digitized much more is the Western data in the developed markets. India, we talk about sovereign AI, but what about sovereign data? We have so much data in healthcare and other areas that's not digitized, right? If someone can digitize that data and build on top of that, because the global AI may not be solving those niche India specific problems as effectively, right, as it is solving for those markets. So, is there an opportunity to build AI specifically to solve problems for India? I think that's another interesting area that some companies will look to address.
What are these hot startup areas that you see Indian companies or Indian startups moving into?
I think there's lots of opportunity in the startup scene, right? I mean, there are projections that India will have few million startups in the years to come. I mean, that number sounds staggering, few million startups, because there's so much opportunity in this large market, and there's so much proliferation of technology, there's so much proliferation of consumerism, different types of demands, different types of habits. India itself is like, how many countries in one, right? And there are different segments that each have different opportunity. So, there's so much need to, cater to local demands, local flavors, local needs, local tastes. So I think there are huge opportunities. Again, for me, I think the area that I'm passionate about is applied AI, right? Is building uh, either building AI for India, or from India building AI for India and for the world, right?
Can you
And
give
that
us
is
an
an area that
example of applied AI?
of course, of course. So there's lots. So, for example, I'm currently working with a startup which has built AI technology that provides exactly what we spoke about, skilling, right? With the whole AI revolution, and even otherwise in general, there is a huge need for constant reskilling, upskilling of people throughout their careers, right? And today, all the information is in public domain. Everything is
Yeah.
out there, right? It's so different from, when I was in college. Today, if you really want to, if you want to spend time, yes, nothing beats a few hours one-on-one with a teacher in a classroom. Maybe that's needed for some things. But there's so many things that you can just go and learn on your own. I'll tell you, Sukirti, honestly, even though I run my own AI company, most of my time goes into hiring people and thinking of strategy, etc. So I also then get drifted away from the technology. So I spend time, using public resources, online courses from Microsoft and Google to make sure that I'm, also current, right? So anyway, so the startup that I was talking about has built technology that, depending on your needs and your interests, and you can do a self-assessment and where you want to pursue your career, it will build custom training modules for you
Yeah.
and pick out different resources from the internet and put it together. It doesn't create anything, it just puts it all together and creates a custom, let's say, 5 session learning for you, and at the end of that you've learned a new skill.
You now came to something very interesting, that you hire people. And now this is the million dollar question everyone wants to know. Who are
This
you
is a million
hiring?
dollar question. I know what you're going to ask, and it is the multi-trillion dollar question. Yeah.
But who are you hiring? What are the skills that are now really valuable? And I'm also going to come to the second question, because this one is very interesting. Because you yourself, like you said, you are not from the tech background. So that is also very interesting, that how do non-tech people also get into the space?
So whom I'm hiring may not be reflective of the industry, because, as you know, I run an applied AI business, right, where we're working with large global corporations, helping them understand their business and solve their problems using AI, data, and data science. So we are, of course, hiring, on the one hand, we are hiring the very technical skills, the AI scientists, AI engineers, we're hiring the data analysts, data sciences. One important function is we are hiring is the translators. We are hiring the consultants who can bridge between the business. See, one very important skill is to be able to understand business and to be able to understand enough about AI, and to be able to understand how to apply it in a business situation, right? I think that is one of the early, we used to talk of this concept years ago of a citizen data scientist, right? Now we need a citizen AI scientist,
Okay.
right? Who's not, the most, doesn't need to have those advanced AI skills. That will be, a need, okay, but who can actually connect between the two, right? And that is really critical. So we are hiring all those kind of people. Um, but as I said, the real need within the enterprise world is to adopt and to use AI within the business, right? And for that, you don't need to be deeply technical. You need to just overcome your fear and understand enough, right? And so then you were asking, that leads me to your second question, where you're asking about me personally. These things, again, like I said earlier, is the technology has evolved so much that the gap between, let's say, someone who's not studied a sophisticated computer science degree and someone who could be from a commerce arts background, the gap is actually not that much anymore. Because whatever that person, if that person studied 7, 8, I mean, it's great if you have a technical background, but whatever that person studied 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, yes, they have a lot of the foundation and basics, which, you may not have if you don't have a non-technical degree, but the entire stack has changed. So, if you want to be the applied person, right, who's looking to apply it in business, as long as you're willing to challenge yourself, you're willing to be curious, you're willing to learn, you're willing to spend your own time learning. There's the gap may be here. You can come here. Maybe you can't come here, but you can definitely come. Sometimes some people can go here also. It depends on that individual, right? There will always be a small need for the super technical people to go and build those models and all that. So that I'm not talking about that, right? That, we leave up to the people who've actually, studied all those degrees and only those people have. But there's a huge need for a lot of the applied work. And for that, very, very much democratized. So I'll give you an example. The individual who heads our entire innovation function and who also manages our AI labs and some of our products. And he's kind of an extreme example. He doesn't have a technical background. And we've
That
got
makes a
teams of,
lot of non-tech people very happy.
no, and he's got a lot of, within his team, there are a lot of, people from IIT and other places who have the deep technical backgrounds, PhDs, etc. And they're all great, but he's able to challenge the status quo. He's able to think differently, and he's learned to himself. So is the case for me. I'd have to just keep learning and unlearning, right? So I myself invest a few hours every week, and I have to, because otherwise, and actually even the people with the most technical backgrounds have to do that.
No, but this is a learning age. Definitely, I do agree with you. But one question we keep getting: how are the skills in India vis-a-vis the rest of the world? Or do we still have to go abroad to learn the latest and greatest in AI? Or can we do it now, like you said, learning online, this great equalizer that has happened?
No, absolutely. So as I said, one can definitely learn here. And India has interestingly both. So in India, we have some of the deep AI skills, which is the hardcore foundational AI to build the high-end models, skills in deep learning, reinforcement learning, language, etc., etc. And then we have a large pool of people who can apply, right? So India has always had a strength of technical talent. If you look at people in management roles in companies globally, we have a pool of business talent, right? So it's just a question of marrying the two. I think what does happen, of course, is there is a certain pool of the high-end talent, let's say, that converges in a place like Silicon Valley, right? But that also we can catch up with, right? It's not that our high-end niche talent cannot catch up with that, because there are people from here who are working there. There are people moving back. There are people moving this way. So yeah, there's no reason why we can't.
Now, this question always comes up, and everybody's talking about it, that these jobs will come up, these jobs will disappear. So, in your magic crystal ball, which jobs are disappearing and which are coming up?
No, this I listen. So as I said, I reserve the right to be wrong. So I don't have a magic crystal ball. I have a point of view, and honestly, that's what everyone has. Um, so I won't comment on specific jobs, but I can tell you the areas that are getting addressed the most, right? But eventually, I think there will be areas will be across the business. One thing that is getting addressed heavily is the entire marketing, sales, and customer support ecosystem, right, within businesses. which is creation of content, personalization of content, providing intelligent customer support. So all of that is getting heavily augmented with AI. In some cases, it may lead to a reduction of what people need to do, but in many cases, it's a combination of human and AI. Maybe you can do some. You can actually then do it better. Right? It's not just about doing it with less people, but it's about doing it better. Right? It's a human AI combination which can lead to a much better result. Right? So that entire ecosystem is getting something that's there's a lot of impact and across then other parts of business. So in finance, being able to assess, or in strategy, being able to assess companies, being able to understand strategy, being able to prepare annual reports, being able to prepare reporting. In legal is so much text, right? And we'll end up spending and wasting so much time reading all these clauses, etc., etc. A lot of work happening on the legal front as well. Eventually, HR recruiting.
Yeah.
Recruiting is a big area, and it's kind of unfortunate because you have AI being used to create resumes and then companies using AI to assess resumes, and you're losing some of the human touch. Because when you're hiring people, it's not just a function of, I believe, strongly believe, it's not just a function of their skills and fit, right? Sometimes you will find something in that person which will make you feel this person can really make a difference. You'll read something on the resume, they did some great NGO work, they took a year off and went and did some photography thing somewhere in, South America or something like that. And you feel, this person has some different thinking and they can really, so those kind of things, I don't think AI is ready yet to assess those things. Maybe it will be. So, I think that again, we have to use AI, and I'm kind of contradicting my own point, but I'm saying we have to use AI, but at the same time, where the human touch is needed, we have to make sure we bring it in.
Now, for somebody, let's suppose who's 17 and now is preparing for this world, what skill, habits, or attitudes should they focus on? And I'm going to come back to you specifically because you have a 21-year-old. What are you advising her?
Yeah, this is the most difficult question so many parents ask me, right? And I'm asking myself. Uh, Thankfully, you ask skills and habits. You don't ask area of study,
I'll
because
come to that.
yeah. So I do believe. Well, so let's talk about area of study first, only because um, I think all disciplines will continue to remain important. Even the things I spoke about earlier, marketing or legal, those disciplines aren't going away. And those disciplines are not going to become completely AI, right? All those disciplines remain important, right? And you need to study and understand those disciplines. You need to understand what, why, where, etc., right? So much of code is getting written by AI. Software coding itself that's ironically is getting, now.
They say
Uh,
somewhere between 30-40% if you listen to the big companies.
yeah, exactly. So, but ideally, I don't think that means you should not know how to code. I think, learning things like software development and writing code, you understand the logic of how it functions, how it works, how it maps, right? And then that will help you because then you will use AI to do it, but then you need to be able to understand what to look for, how to manage, where you need to intervene as a human, how to design the system, etc., right? I think learning the fundamentals, I think let's go back to the fundamentals, let's go back to understanding concepts, right? Rather than learning by rote, and unfortunately, especially in India, some of our system does have a lot of that, right? That will become less important, but understanding fundamental concepts, ideas, etc., is going to be key. And then in terms of attitude, I can sorry, but I'm going to go back to my same point: is you need to be intellectually curious, you need to be adaptive, you need to keep learning, and it doesn't matter today. You'll need to continue to keep doing that all the time. My 21-year-old, I push her in everything to use these technologies, to use AI wherever possible. Try it and see sometimes, but then see what is doing. Don't use it blindly, right? And see something that it's working well for you, something that's not working well for you, and figure out on your own your answers.
So you've got the gamut in kids from 8 to 21. Now let's come back to the lower end of the The lower end, because I also have kids that are 9. So, how early should we get kids to start engaging with these technologies?
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. And one is our role as parents, and then the other role is of the schooling system, right? And I don't think we have the answers yet, and it's not easy for our schooling system also. I don't think they have the answers yet of how should we educate our children so that one is they're not dependent on AI, they learn the concepts themselves, but then at the same time, they learn how to use AI also. So
Yeah.
it's that balance which is very difficult. You can say, okay, on the one hand, don't use it so that you know how to write an essay and you know how to do this, etc., etc. But on the other hand, later on, you will then be challenged to write it better and faster using AI, right? I think our schooling system is still figuring it out. What is that right age? I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know the answer. But I think an increasing level of exposure from a certain level and standard, so lesser exposure at a certain level, increasing level of exposure after a certain level and standard will be key. Because very early on, I think you still want some of those fundamental skills to be developed. You don't want to lose out on, being, it's like when, you and I went to school, we didn't use calculators, right?
Yeah.
Even they were available, right? So at least, we know, the numbers. Even though calculator was available, my, parents made me learn my tables. And that helps me even today, even though in this world of Excel spreadsheets and now AI, when I'm in a meeting, it just helps me. So I think, getting some of those fundamentals on your own is good. And then increasing levels of exposure after a certain standard where, let's say, once you're into a college, into college, you should be using, this is my view, colleges should encourage extensive use and train you how to use it and be better with it.
Now, before we move on to the rapid fire round, anything that you
There's
feel.
a rapid fire. I thought this was rapid
No,
fire.
no, we're going to do rapid fire really fast. But anything that you feel that we missed or something that you would like to say to our viewers.
I think I've, already shared, Sukirti, as I again, don't be afraid, go out and do it, and just figure it out for yourself.
All right, now let's move to the rapid fire. So quick, 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 don't overthink this. So one
I
AI
have to
trend.
give quick answers also.
Yes, yes, of course. Because all the attention spans, we might talk all about AI writing these huge essays, but we still only want to read three sentences, Nobody wants to read more than that. So, all right, one AI trend that you think is overhyped.
Oh, that's very much AGI. There's this whole concept of artificial general intelligence that is going to become, super human and do everything. I think that's just a bogey and a distraction.
One underrated skill that you think will matter more in the future.
Intellectual curiosity.
If you were 18 today and going back to college, what would you do differently?
I would spend more time outside of the classroom, continuing to learn, continuing to, see what's out there and continuing to build on myself.
One thing every parent should teach their child about AI.
It's not something to fear. It's something to use, something to leverage, something that will give you a better result, a combination of you and the technology.
Are you still hiring coders or just smart thinkers?
Both. We are hiring coders who are smart thinkers.
Well, thank you, Ashwin. That was awesome. So good that you were with us on AI basics.
Great pleasure to be here, Sukirti. Thank you so much. It was fun.